received a comment asking if I could do a video showing all my decks, and I thought that sounded like fun. My deck collection isn't huge right now. I know there are some people who have entire shelves full of decks. I only started collecting a few months ago, so I can still fit all my decks on a table, but I still thought it would be fun to show them off. I've arranged them into tiers, and since this is a Solitaire channel, we're gonna pick a couple decks from each tier, and we're going to play a game of aces up with each one. So there will be a little bit of gameplay in this video. It's not just gonna be showing off my decks. Now let me just quickly explain the tiers. At the top, we have the decks that I think are the most interesting. These all have nice visuals, really cool face designs, or are otherwise just interesting in some way. In the middle, we have the solid decks. These decks have nice back designs and good playability, but the face designs are fairly standard and not particularly interesting. And at the bottom, we have the gray loot. These are the cheap, generic bridge-sized decks, where the back designs are just company logos and things like that. These are sort of the bottom of the barrel, but I still think they're kind of fun, and I like them just for a sort of novelty's sake. Like the fact that there are State Farm playing cards is just kind of funny and interesting to me. So let's get started looking at the cards, and we're gonna start with the top tier. So let's go. So here we have the Bicycle Dragon deck. This is a really cool deck that I just got recently. And this is going to be the first deck that we play aces up with. We've got the advertisement card and the gaff card, the double backer. Here are our jokers. Really cool design. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the deck and we're gonna take out all the face cards and the ace of spades, since those are all typically the most interesting looking cards. So I'll just lay them all out. And I'll show you the numbers as I flip through them as well. The ace of spades. No, it's right here. So, really cool designs on all these cards. The ace of spades especially looks great. I like this sort of, with the red and yellow, with the face card designs. I think it's supposed to be sort of like Chinese or East Asian themed. I really like the look. So we're going to take these cards and put them aside. We're going to take all the face cards in the ace and put them back in the deck. And then we're going to shuffle a few times and play a game of aces up. If you don't know the rules of aces up, don't worry, it's very simple. This deck shuffles beautifully, by the way. Bicycle decks are generally really good in terms of handling. They're like the perfect combination of slick but also having grip, so they don't slide around everywhere, but you can still get, they don't stick either. Alright, so I'll explain how to play aces up. It's very simple. First, you draw a row of 4 cards. Let me just flip this so you can see the front of the box. Then you discard any card that is not the top card of each suit. So you can see here we have a Jack of Spades and a Five of Spades. So we discard the Five of Spades, and everything else is the highest card in its suit, so we leave it there. Next, we draw 4 more cards on top of the remaining cards, like this. Now, as the name of the game implies, aces are high, so aces go above kings. So once again, we discard everything that is not the highest card in each suit. So we discard the 6. Oh, and only the top cards are what count. So you can only discard cards on top of a pile, and a card only counts as the highest of its suit if it's on top of a pile. So if a card is buried under another card, you basically don't account for it until you uncover it. So the 4 is right there, we can discard the 3. Now when you create an empty space, this is basically the only point where you get a player choice in the game. You can choose the top card of any pile and move it into the empty space. So I'm going to take the 4 because that reveals the Jack, and now we can discard the 4. And then we put the 4 of diamonds into the empty space. And now we actually have the ace and the 5. So we can discard the 5, and now we draw more cards. And we got 1 of each suit, which means we can't discard anything. I read that when this happens, it's called a flash. So it's a bad thing, because it means you can't discard any cards. You have to draw again. Oh my god, we almost got another one. So we discard this, and then this. And we draw again. We can discard that. These 2. This 4. Now we have a choice. Let's do the Jack, because now we can discard the 2. And now we have the Jacks of Spades, so we can discard the 9 of Spades. Because of the Jack of Hearts, we can discard these 2 hearts. And that got rid of most of our cards, but we still have this 6 of diamonds on top of the 10. So we'll see if we can get rid of that. And we got another flash, so we can't discard anything. That's a shame. And we got another flash. That is such bad luck. Okay, we'll try again. Oh my god, we got 3 flashes in a row. I have no idea what the odds are of that happening, but it's it's crazy. Okay, we can actually discard some cards this time. So we'll do this. And the queen means we can discard these 2 hearts. And that's all we can do. And the queen of diamonds, we can discard these. The ace of diamonds means we can discard the queen of diamonds. We've got the ace of spades, so we can discard the queen. And now we have to draw again. And we can discard the 7, the queen, the king, and now we draw again. And oh my god, it's another flash. This is maybe the unluckiest game I've ever played of this. Okay, we can discard the 8 and the king. We can discard these 2. Now we can discard the 6 and the queen. And that's it. So that's game over. Now the odds of winning this game are very low. I've heard it's about 3% regardless of which strategy you use. There is some player choice with the moving into the empty space, and you can influence it a little bit, but it's usually around 3%, so it's pretty hard to win. We probably won't win one tonight. It would be really cool if we did. We'll see. But that is the Bicycle Dragon deck. Really cool deck. I really like this one. I'm looking forward to using this some more in another video when we focus more on this deck and play another game besides Aces Up. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Next, we've got The Guard Vintage Edition. I actually just used this deck in a video where we played Shamrocks. There's the back design. This is a really nice looking deck. It has a very old school look to it. My only issue with it is that the cards are very sticky. So we've got the Jokers here, and this deck doesn't have any gaff cards or advertisement cards, it just has the Jokers. Now let's look through the other cards, looking for the face cards. We've got the King of Clubs, the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Diamonds. We've got the King of Spades. There's the Ace of Spades, although the Ace of Spades in this deck is not super interesting. The Queen of Hearts. Jack of Clubs. The Jack of Diamonds and the Queen of Diamonds. The King of Hearts. Jack of Spades. Jack of Hearts. And last should be the Queen of Clubs. I must have missed it. Oh, there it is. It was sticking. Like I said, this deck has a bit of a stickiness problem. It didn't have that when I first bought it, but the more I've used it, the more sticky it's gotten, which is a bit of a shame. Now this deck is also kind of interesting because I believe it's scented. At least to me, it smells like citrus, but I think maybe it's supposed to smell like oak or wood. But to me, it smells like citrus, personally. So we'll gather all the cards, and we're not going to play a game of Aces Up. If I played Aces Up with every deck, this video would be 2 hours long, probably. But we will give it a quick shuffle, just to see how it feels. And, like I said, this is a sticky deck, so it doesn't feel great. You can kind of see the cards clumping together when I do the overhand shuffle. And if you do it carefully, you can get a decent riffle. But look, when you try to push them back together after the riffle and square them up, that's when it really becomes a problem. But it's not a terrible deck. It looks great. It smells good. It's just got that problem with the stickiness. But besides that, fantastic deck. You'll definitely be seeing this one again. Here's another deck that is featured in my videos before. It's the Black Diamond Gold Foil deck. This is a waterproof deck, so it's made of plastic instead of paper. And let's take out, we've got the Jokers, which both look great. And then we've also got a certificate of authenticity, 99.9% pure 24 karat gold. But despite that, this is actually a pretty cheap deck. I believe I bought it for $7. And you can kind of tell by the card quality. I don't know how much it shows up on camera, but you can see the black is kind of chipping off, and there are white speckles on the card from use. So the quality is not fantastic, but visually it looks great. And it wasn't that expensive, so I can't complain too much about the quality. Let's get these face cards out. And the face card designs are pretty standard, but the fact that they're made of the gold foil just makes them really pop. And they look really beautiful, at least to me. So let's get these out of the way, and we'll give this a quick shuffle. We're not going to be playing aces up with this one. We're just going to give it a shuffle to see how it feels. And personally, I think this one feels really good. I actually quite like the plastic cards. I didn't think I was going to, but as I've used them, I found that they just have a really nice slipperiness and a really nice grip. And when you riffle them, I don't really know how to describe it, but there's something really satisfying about the way they riffle. You feel like you have a lot of control over it. So, just very good feel all around. And they've got a bit of a different sound too, because they're plastic. But yeah, that is the Black Diamond waterproof gold foil deck. Pretty good deck. A little bit cheap in terms of the quality, but still worth the money. And another example of decks with fairly standard designs but really cool cards, we have the Metallics deck, the Bicycle Metallics deck. And this is another shiny deck. Now I do have a bit of an issue with this one, which is why I haven't made any videos with it yet, but I'll go over that in a bit. For now, let's just look at the cards. Here's the Jokers. Pretty standard designs for the Jokers. And we've also got this Gaff card is pretty interesting. It's got the design of the box on it. And this, I guess I'll read this. Why not? Stamped with real metal, Bicycle Metallics playing cards feature brilliant light reflections and ultimate luxury. These Metallics cards showcase the full potential of metal on cards. Beautiful color, no flake durability, and printed on premium cardstock. The next level in card play, manipulation, and magic is now in your hands. Pretty cool. And at the bottom it says, due to the manual stamping process, there may be slight differences from one card to another, which is a bit of a shame, because sometimes you can identify cards based on that, but to me they look pretty much the same, so I don't think I could really identify anything. So let's look at the cards themselves. And I think one thing you'll notice as we flip through, and the reason why I have not used these cards in a video, the red cards can be a bit difficult to make out on the gray background. The red is not a very bright red, it doesn't really pop, and so it can kind of blend in a little and be hard to read. I'm a big fan of the YouTuber Great Ape ASMR. I watch every Solitaire video he uploads, I love them. But he sometimes uses these Metallics decks, and every time he does, I have a hard time reading the red cards. It's a little unfortunate because the deck does look great. So, that's just, it's unfortunate. But if you don't think it's that bad, feel free to let me know, and I'll be willing to try this deck out. That's actually something I forgot to mention at the beginning. If you see any decks that you like and would like to request, I would definitely be willing to use any of these decks if people like them. So just leave a comment and let me know which deck you like, and I'll use that in a future video. You can even request which game you'd like me to play with the deck. So for example, if you want me to play Beleaguered Castle with the Metallics deck, I can do that. Just let me know. So those are the cards. Again, fairly standard in terms of the design, but it's got this really cool look on the cards with the metal. I don't actually know if there's any metal on the face side or if it's just the back that's metallic, but it looks good regardless, besides the issue with the reds. So let's take these cards back and give it a few shuffles. bicycle deck. It pretty much just feels like a bicycle deck. Riffles, pretty clean riffles. Not too slippery, not too sticky. In general, bicycle decks have pretty good feel to them. So, can't complain. Yep. So, that is the Metallics deck, and I think this is specifically the Metallics Gold deck. There are a few different versions of the Metallics. I think you can get silver and rose gold, and there might be another one, but this is the standard gold. Here's a deck I haven't yet shown on the channel. It's the Bicycle Ghosts of Tombstone deck, and this is a really cool Western themed deck. You can see the face cards have this skeleton theme going on. It's really cool. And the number cards also have a really good look to them. So, let's take out the jokers, which are awesome. The gaff card is this blank. And we've also got a double backer. Let's get out the face cards and the ace of spades. There's the ace of spades. Really cool looking. Now just the queen of clubs left. Where is it? There it is. And this is going to be our second deck that we're going to play aces up with. So, just appreciate that art. And we'll take back all the cards, give it a few shuffles, and then we'll play our second game of aces up. This is a standard bicycle deck, so it pretty much just feels like a bicycle deck, which is to say, pretty good. That's user error on the shuffling, not the fault of the cards. Alright, let's play our game. Let me just move this further out of the way. And we can take that. Let's move that. Take the 7 and the 9. Now the 8 can go there. And we can take both of these. That queen lets us take the 9. The king lets us take the 8. And we can move this to the empty space. This is going pretty well so far. And we can take this. And is that all we can take? Yep, not a great draw. We can take these spades, and that's it. Another not so great draw. And there's our first flash of the game. Almost another one. lucky. You normally do not get this many. This is a lot of cards, though. We got to discard a lot that time. So, not a very good game. We did not get to do all that much, although we are still going. Maybe I spoke a little too soon. I still don't think we're going to win, but... No, we didn't win, but we did get to take a lot of cards off at the end. So, not too terrible. Look at all these 3 aces in the same pile. That's pretty bad. So another loss. And yeah, that is the Ghosts of Tombstone deck. Pretty cool deck. Next we have another great deck, the Sparrow hanafuda deck. This is the fusion deck that I played Gate with. So this one has been on the channel before. If you aren't aware and you did not see that video, hanafuda is a style of Japanese playing cards with a different suit and ranking system from the French suited style that most people are accustomed to. So it actually wouldn't really make sense to just deal out the face cards, because every card in this deck has a unique design based on the hanafuda, the traditional hanafuda designs. So instead, I'm just gonna deal out all the cards. Oh wait, I forgot to show the extra cards though. We've got the Jokers, the double backer, and the advertising card. And now we'll deal out the rest of them so you can see the art. I think this might be my favorite deck that I have. It's just such a nice looking deck. That's all of them. Obviously, all the cards have the Sparrow theme going on, and the rest are based on the normal hanafuda designs. The different flowers and the scenery is all based on traditional hanafuda designs. Now we'll just give it a quick shuffle. Again, it's another bicycle deck, so you know it's gonna feel good. But we give it a shuffle anyways. I think I just like shuffling. Shuffling cards feels really good. I can't help it. Finally, the last deck in the upper tier is the Theory 11 Star Wars deck. Now, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I know a lot of people are kind of picky about Star Wars, and that's fine. You know, you're allowed to like and dislike whatever you want, but I personally love all Star Wars. I like the games, I like the movies, the shows, both the live action and the animated shows, and I've even started getting into the novels and the comics. I listened to all the High Republic audiobooks, and I loved them. I loved all the characters. So I'm gonna be a nerd and name all the different characters. So we've got BB-8, and we've got this droid from Rise of Skywalker, whose name I can't remember. Sorry. We've got Mon Mothma, her original trilogy design. She's probably more famous nowadays for being an Andor, but this is what she looked like in the original trilogy. We've got Boba Fett. We've got Luke Skywalker, old Luke. I think they went with his older design because it looks more like a king. And we've got Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan. Again, I think they went with his older design to look so he looks like a king. We've got Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren. We've got Lando Calrissian as a Jack, the Jack of Diamonds. We've got Rey, I guess technically Rey Skywalker. And I'll look at the aces too, because the aces also have some nice designs. We've got the Ace of Hearts has the Millennium Falcon on it. We've got Darth Vader. We've got Princess Leia on the Queen of Hearts. We've got the Ace of Spades with the X-Wing on it. We've got Queen Padme Amidala on the Queen of Spades. And we've got Slave 1 on the Ace of Diamonds. Emperor Palpatine on the King of Clubs. And Han Solo, the Jack of Hearts. And we'll just look at the rest of the number cards. I think there's still an ace left, isn't there? I must have skipped it. The Ace of Clubs. Where is it? There it is. And it's got a TIE Fighter on it. So yeah, really cool deck. I love it. Like I said, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so this one kind of makes me nerd out a little bit. Yeah. Let's give it a shuffle. This one is not a bicycle deck for once, so it feels a little different. The cards feel a little bit thinner than the bicycle decks, so I guess the durability is a little bit worse, but I still think it feels fine for playing. And I've actually got a special game in mind that I want to play with this deck, so it feels good to me. Like I said, a little bit thinner, maybe a little less durable than a typical bicycle deck, but definitely good enough to be worth buying and playing with. Oh, and I guess I should mention that this is the light side version, which I picked because it has this cool metallic blue. There is also a red dark side version, and I think there was another version as well, but I forget what it was. But yeah, so that is the Theory 11 Star Wars deck. Big fan of this one. You'll definitely see it coming up in a video soon. Now we're going to move on to the second tier. These are the solid decks. These decks all have nice packs and feel great to play with, but the face card designs are fairly standard, not particularly interesting, but that's fine. You can have a solid deck with standard face card designs, and that's perfectly fine. We've got the Jokers here. This is the Summer Edition Triumph deck, and this is the Neon Lights Triumph deck. The Summer Edition has those cool surfboard Jokers. The Neon Lights has more of like a Vegas style going on. And then you can see the backs, they're similar. They've got a similar color scheme, and they've both got this background pattern, but the logos are different. This one has palm trees, and again, this one has that Vegas motif. And let's take a look at the cards themselves. I believe the face cards are pretty much identical. So we're probably not going to look at both of them. We'll just kind of flip through them. And I'll bring out the face cards, but they're pretty standard. And let me just compare, just to make sure they're the same. Otherwise, yeah, they're exactly the same. So I'm not going to flip through both of them. We're just going to look at the face cards in one of them. And it'll be this one. I will look at the Ace of Spades though, because the Ace of Spades is different between the two decks. So those are the face cards and the ace for the summer edition. And let me just go through and grab the Ace of Spades for the Neon Lights deck. Where is it? Oh, this is the summer edition. What is this? This is the Neon Lights. Okay, I got confused. So this is the Neon Lights. And of course, it's all the way at the back. That is the Ace of Spades for the Neon Lights deck. So, let's just give it a quick shuffle. Now, I actually do like these Triumph decks. I think I've used both of them in videos before, and they feel pretty nice. They're a little weird to riffle. They're very, I guess stiff is the word that I would use. They don't bend easily, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It does make them feel a bit more durable. Oh, there are some of the summer edition cards in here. I almost got my two decks mixed up. Does that mean there are Neon Lights cards in the other deck? Okay, note to self, doing these two decks side by side like this, when most of the designs are the same, was not a bright idea. Don't do that for the other decks that I'm planning to do that with, or at least be more careful. Let's just give this one more shuffle. So yeah, there is the Triumph Summer Edition and Neon Lights decks. Next, we have these two cards. They were very cheap. I actually couldn't even tell you what brand they are. They just say playing cards on them. But they have a nice back design, and the cards themselves feel pretty good. And they have a pretty clean face design. So, even though they're kind of cheap and generic, I think they're pretty good. And I think it was $6 for the 2-pack. I actually bought 2 of the 2 packs, so we can use these decks for 2-deck games. They're the Jokers, and as you can see, they're the same. I'm pretty sure these decks are identical, besides the back designs. Let me just look at one of the face cards just to be certain. There's the Jack of Diamonds. And we'll find the Jack of Diamonds in the other one. Yeah, they're the same. So, let's look at the face cards. Let me just make sure I don't make the same mistake as last time. Okay. Let's look at the face cards on this one. Here we've got the Ace of Spades, which I'm assuming is also the same in both of the decks because they're both the same design, they just are different colors. And yeah, so those are the face cards. Like I said, pretty clean design and a nice feel, and a pretty cool back design too. So let's give it a shuffle. real thin. They're no bicycle cards. I don't want to give the impression that these $3 a pack cards are anything special in terms of quality, but they're definitely passable. So, yeah. These are the, I don't know what to call them, the generic decks. I'll look up what the brand they're actually by and I'll put it on the screen in case you want to look it up yourself. Continuing the trend of same cards, different color, we've got these standard bicycle decks. These are the most basic decks you can buy. I think pretty much anyone who's played with cards before has used one of these. And these are well used, so they're a little dirty. But yeah, this is the absolute most standard and basic deck you can find. But it is a bicycle deck, so it is very solid in terms of quality and design. This one actually has an extra Joker. And we're not going to flip through all the cards, but I will open this so you can take a look at the back. And I think this one does not have the extra Joker, which is strange. But yeah, it's the same back, just red. And let's just take a look at the face cards. There's the Ace of Spades. So yeah, very standard. Like I said, if you've ever played cards before, you've probably used a deck like this. But still a solid design. It's a classic for a reason. Let's give it a shuffle. And actually, I just realized that I was planning on playing Aces Up with one of the decks that I used before. One of those, the Kaleidoscope design decks. But I forgot. So instead, we're just going to play Aces Up with the next two decks that I'm going to show you after this one. So here's another deck that I've used on the channel before, the Gemaco Casino deck. It's got the information on the back that the casino would fill out, but this deck was never actually used at a casino, so the information is not filled out. Sometimes when you buy casino decks, they actually are used, and they actually do have the information on the back. But this one was never used. And I think, like most casino cards, it uses the jumbo print. I think that's for readability purposes at the casino. Using the small print is probably not desirable. But when we play Solitaire, we generally prefer the standard size fonts because the jumbo fonts can make it a little hard to lay out all your cards without using up too much space. So, pretty standard design. I kind of like how these cards, the face cards, have huge eyes. I don't know why, that's funny to me. And we'll we'll just give it a quick shuffle. And I think one of the times I used this, I pointed out that the issue I have with these cards is they're a bit too slippery on the back. So when you're trying to play solitaire with them, they kind of slide around. But the more I've used them, the more that problem has started to go away. I think what happens is that the more you play with them, the finish starts to wear off, and so they start to become a bit stickier. With the guard deck, that was kind of a problem, but with this deck, it's actually kind of a good thing. Oh, we were gonna play aces up with this one. Don't forget, again, this one I'm going to put up at the top because this is a jumbo deck, so we might run out of space if I play with it in the center like before. Decent start. We've already got some high cards. That can be bad, though. But as long as the high cards are on the bottom, you don't have to worry about trying to get them off the low cards, and that's a good thing. And look at this, we're gonna get an ace on the bottom. Very nice. Uh-oh, the cards are a little too sticky. I'm having trouble separating them. Now we gotta do something about this. There's another ace and another ace. Luckily, the ace of diamonds didn't go on the king of hearts. Same thing with the ace of hearts. That makes things a little bit easier because now we can... Okay, let's not move the ace straight there. Let's see what the best option would be. Honestly, I think the best option is actually to move the 7, because then we can discard the king, move this, then discard the 7, and then move the 8 and discard it. And now we can get the ace of diamonds on the bottom. That's nice. We just need to get rid of this, and we need to get the ace of spades. If the ace of spades lands on top of that 10, then the game is actually over. So that is the worst thing that could happen. We want to avoid that, although we can't really avoid it. It's all just down to luck. We're just hoping that the ace of spades goes in any column except this one. So far, so good. There we go. Alright, now we still need to finish this out. It's not looking very good, though. We have some pesky cards to get rid of. And it looks like we are not going to win this one. There we go. That was definitely the best game of the night, though. We only had 8 cards remaining. That's pretty good. So definitely a good showing from the Gemaco deck. Now this deck is a little old and beat up, but it's still kind of important to me because this was one of my grandmother's decks. I think I mentioned that in one of my previous videos that my grandma used to play canasta, and my mom showed me where she used to keep all her decks, and I looked through them and most of them were missing cards, but this one had all the cards intact. It's missing the jokers, but it has everything else. So, it's a jumbo deck, and the designs are pretty standard, but it's got a nice back. And let's just go through and get all the noteworthy cards, the face cards, and the ace of spades. Like I said, no jokers on this one. I'm not sure what my grandma did with all the jokers. I somehow missed the ace of diamonds, or the jack of diamonds, unless I left it in the box by accident. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, we're gonna play aces up with this one as well. Now, this is not actually a bicycle deck. It is I don't know if number 1860 is the brand. It says JJT Incorporated, so I'm not sure, but it handles pretty decently. It's got a bit of a bend to it from my grandma riffling it so much, but still definitely playable. You can see the edges are pretty yellowed. This deck got a lot of play, a lot of love. And it has a very distinctive sound to it. It's a much deeper, kind of thunkier sound when you riffle it. Maybe made of thicker cardstock or something like that. Alright. Let's play some aces up and see if we can win with my grandma's deck. That would be pretty cool. Oops. That's all we can do, unfortunately. You can see some of the cards are a little dirty. Like I said, these were well loved. This pile's looking a little bad. Alright, now we get to make a choice. Let's do this, because we take the 5, and then we can take the 4. Now what do we do? Let's do this, the 10, take the 3, and then the king lets us take the 10. I'm doing a pretty good job of down stacking this massive pile. Do we have any more options? Unfortunately, it looks like we don't have much we can do. We can move this king, then take the queen, but now we have to draw again. Unless I missed something obvious. Not a very good draw. And there's the last draw. get a choice. We get to make a play. What play do we make? We make this one. Now what? Unfortunately, I think no matter what move we make here, I mean, our only two options are putting the ace of spades or the ace of diamonds, and I think regardless of which one we do, the game is over. So, there we go. Another pretty good game. Actually, was that 8 again? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and it was 9. 9 cards remaining. Not bad. Just behind the Gemaco deck. So yeah, that was the number 1860 Nevada style deck. Now the video is starting to get a bit long, so I think we're gonna kind of blow through the last tier of decks. We're not gonna really lay out all the cards, all the face cards and stuff. These are all pretty generic decks anyways. There isn't really anything interesting going on. We're just gonna kind of look at them and then flip through, do a couple shuffles, and then and that'll be it. So this is the beach deck. It is from the Trump playing card company. I'm not super familiar with them, but I've seen some other cards from that company on eBay. So I think they were decently, prominent, but not one of the big ones like Bicycle or Hoyle or anything like that. And I think this is just a generic deck with a blurry beach background. Maybe that's a famous beach, I don't know, but I don't recognize it. So to me, it is just a blurry beach. Next, we've got the Eastern Airlines deck. I used this during the Flower Garden video, and I pointed out in that video that this deck is old because Eastern Airlines went out of business in the early 1990s. So this is a probably 30+ year old deck. And it's a pretty standard looking one. Pretty standard designs. Kind of beat up, as you can see, probably because it's so old. I just realized I never shuffled the beach deck, but I'm not gonna go back and do it. I'll shuffle this one though. This one actually shuffles pretty nicely. Like, for a cheap airline deck, I actually like the way this one feels, and I do enjoy playing with it. I actually do play with it every once in a while on my own. It is very thin and cheap, but for some reason the thin, cheap decks feel kind of good to shuffle. I'm not sure what it is. The way they like bend. I don't know what it is, but it just feels nice. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The State Farm deck. And you can see it's actually got a big image that wraps around the box, so it's different on both sides. Bridge size, of course. Most of the cheap decks are bridge size. Not that I have anything against bridge size decks. I actually think they can be better for Solitaire sometimes. And this one, I believe, is a generic Hoyle deck. And so the designs are standard. Oh, and I should show the back, huh? You can see it's got the, it's the image that's on the box, but stretched out across the card. It's not a bad image, honestly. I actually wouldn't say that these cards are bad or anything like that. I actually think they're pretty nice. And I actually have 2 of these. So, you'll probably see this deck show up for a 2-deck game at some point. I don't know when. I have other duplicate decks that I plan on using sooner for 2-deck games, but you will probably see this one at some point. I'm just not sure how far into the future that will be, but I only have a few duplicate decks, so I only have so many to choose from when I play 2-deck games. We've got the American Airlines deck, once again returning. This one's been on the channel several times, and most famously to me anyways, obviously, My channel is not famous, but this deck is famous to me because this is the deck that won Stonewall. If you don't know, Stonewall is a very difficult game with a very low chance of winning. I played it during the Flower Garden video, having no expectation of winning, but this deck pulled it out. I somehow managed to get a win. My reaction was hilarious and embarrassing, but hopefully people enjoyed that. If you haven't, it's at the very end of the Stonewall video if you want to skip straight to it just to laugh at me having a ridiculous reaction to winning a solitaire game. And it was with this very deck. Not very special of a deck, but special in my heart. The Curtis deck. This deck made an appearance in the free sale video, and I just wanted to use it because it's another oil deck. Because I like the background. I don't know if it shows up well in the camera, but the background, it's not actually a gradient, it's dithered. So it's like dotted between blue and white, and I really like that look. It reminds me of like the 90s. It's sort of like a video, like old video games used to have that sort of effect. So I just really like that look. But it's a oil deck, so it's exactly the same as this. Actually, I think this is different than the State Farm deck. I think that one had a different ace of spades. Maybe the other designs are different too. So we will just flip through it. Yeah, mostly standard looking. And we'll just shuffle it. Shuffle it quick. Not a bad feel to it. Does feel a little cheap, but I mean, oil decks aren't bad. Oil decks, from what I understand, they're pretty solid. Oil also used to publish books of card game rules, and I think they might have even had one on Solitaire, but I'm not sure. We've got the Washington Savings deck. How exciting. I believe Washington Savings is a bank, so a bank deck. Actually, this deck is kind of interesting in that it is tinted blue, and I have no idea why it is tinted blue because I used this deck when I first got it, and it definitely was not tinted blue when I first used it. These were white cards. And then somehow, after I unwrapped them over time, they have become blue. And I don't know why that happened. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that has something to do. I mean, it does say new view tint. So maybe that's what it is. But, yeah, it was definitely not blue when I first got it. And now it is. So that's kind of noteworthy. And I mean, it's not a terrible deck either. Standard designs, but feels pretty good to use. I'm not familiar with Stardust as a card manufacturing company, but this deck is pretty not bad. The only thing is that the blue tint weirds me out. But it feels pretty good to shuffle. Pretty good grip on the sides as well. Yeah. Not super noteworthy, but a good deck. But the blue tint weirds me out. And last we have the Wolf Furniture deck, your favorite furniture place for generations. I guess this is for a furniture store. I'm not familiar with it. I think I looked it up and it was like a regional chain somewhere, but I've never seen one where I live, so I'm not sure where exactly it is. And I guess we're shuffling it first. I don't know why I instantly went to shuffling. But now this deck does have one noteworthy thing about it, and that is that it stinks. So remember I said that the guard deck smelled like citrus, a pretty pleasant smell. This deck smells like furniture polish or something, and it's very. Every time I use this deck, I'm always like, oh, PU. But it seems like the smell is slowly going away the more I use it, so that's good. And wait, is this a Hoyle deck? Oh. This looks almost exactly like the Ace of Spades from the Hoyle deck, but it's actually a Ready Slip deck. I accidentally shuffled the Jokers in. And again, Ready Slip, not a brand I'm familiar with, so I have no clue if these are, you know, a well-known deck, or if this is just some generic, not very notable deck. But it feels nice, I would say. It feels good enough. I play with it sometimes, so it's not too bad. It's definitely playable. Just, very smelly for some reason. And I'm not sure why that is. So, that's gonna be it for this video. I figured I'd bring back 3 of my favorites of the decks we looked at tonight. So yeah, like I said, if you would like to see me use any of the decks I showed tonight in a future Solitaire video, feel free to let me know. I would gladly take requests. And if you have a specific game you would like to see me play with that deck, let me know. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing my cards. Hopefully that collection is only going to grow in the future, so maybe in the future I'll do an update video showing you which decks I've got since then. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you in my next Solitaire video.